The New York Times keeps reporting that we're lagging behind the military of the Russians, right? Like the $1 trillion that we're spending is not enough. It's not enough. And so there's a great article here in Truthdig.com, and it's called "When $1 Trillion Worth of Bombs is Not Enough." And it's written by Adam Johnson. And I just want to go into, he pulls out excerpts from the New York Times, keeping us all scared. Now, this is the real reason for the Russia Gate narrative, right? Russia, they hacked our elections. They're stealing our democracy. So we better ramp up military spending. That's the whole thread. That's the narrative for all of this. And it's pushed by, liberal media people like the New York Times. There's an article, August 30th, 2015, that America was losing the scramble for the Arctic and falling behind the election meddling that just came out March 4th of this year. Now it's in the realms of cyber and nuclear war that the Times sees as dangerous gaps. March 5th, this came out in the New York Times, a Russian threat on two fronts meets an American strategic void. Reporters David Sanger and William Broad passed along the worries of Washington as expressed by a few military higher-ups, some guy from the arms industry mouthpiece known as the Center for Strategic and International Studies, and disembodied the United States, that Trump didn't have a coherent strategy for dealing with cyber and nuclear threats from Russia. This is what the front page said. Russia has ramped up its arsenal. U.S. has done little in response. What? Wait a minute. What? Wait, I'm sorry. What? I'm going to read some excerpt from this article. I would say right now, this is General Nakasone said the Russians, as well as America's other adversaries in cyberspace, seem unimpressed. Who's Lieutenant General Paul Nakasone, the nominee to run the National Security Agency? Oh. The Cyber Command wing of the NSA acknowledged that plans were in place to strike back at Moscow for election hacking. Yeah, here we go. So it's not just bombs we want to spend hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars on. It's the cyber war. We need more money for cyber war. Code name NSA wants more money for surveilling its own citizens. Here's what this general said. I would say right now they don't think much will happen to them, he said. They don't fear us. Well, you're doing a hell of a job getting Americans all afraid. This is from these two writers here, right? David E. Sanger and William Broad, these two corporate lackeys or deep state puppets for the New York Times, said this. The Russian muscle flexing and the American hand-wringing captured a strategic vacuum that now envelops Washington as Mr. Putin pursues what he views as a complementary new generation nuclear arsenal as well as cyberspace. By comparison, the United States is still uncertain how to make use of its cyber weapons after spending billions of dollars to build an arsenal. It is concerned that the Russians, along with the Chinese, the Iranians, and the North Koreans, could easily retaliate against any attack striking American banks, utilities, stock markets, and communication networks. All shit that the NSA and CIA does all over the world. And then in the nuclear sphere, the Trump administration has yet to offer a strategy to contain or deter Russia beyond simply matching the weapons buildup. We outspend them it's mystifying how much we outspend them. So I'm going to put the Truthdig article below, and in that Truthdig article are links to these ridiculous New York Times articles. The New York Times wants us to go to war with Russia. They is pushing this deep state. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, right? We're just falling behind. Oh, really? That's why they got $80 billion in the fall, which is a 13% increase. Let us not forget some of those fine Democrats that gave Trump that $80 billion extra dollars on top of the 600 some billion he was already getting. Our good friends Liz Warren, Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, Tim Kaine, Kamala Harris, right? By the way, that $80 billion was the largest increase since the aftermath of 9/11 and 70% greater than the entire Russian military budget. Trump has also reportedly asked for a black budget to cover $80 billion for covert operations, $30 billion more than previous reports, and pledged more than $1.2 trillion to building up the United States nuclear arsenal over 30. Like, we can wipe out the planet 5 times over or 10 times over or something. What are they talking about? $200 billion more than Obama asked Congress when he announced his plan 2 years ago. Obama asked for $1 trillion. And Trump needs $1.2 trillion. God, I wonder if that money could be used for, like there, right there. There's free health care. There's free college tuition. Boom. There it is. It's right there. Trump has asked, again, to increase the military budget to $716 billion for 2019. This is how much we're spending, and yet these clowns at the New York Times are like, we need more. This ain't enough. We're going to get clocked, man. It's unbelievable. And we don't... And this isn't talking about all we're doing is just bombing the shit out of the world and overthrowing governments and, you know... And it pushes that whole narrative that the United States never starts anything. We just respond, man. We're just the good guys here. I'm just responding. I just came into your house. I kicked down the door and started smashing stuff. And then when you came at me, I had to defend myself. It's like unbelievable. It's just that the whole article is just the whole New York Times article is just unbelievable. And this is what, let me read this. When they talk about the void, a very official group with strategic right by its name, and it's calling its obscene amount of spending in new missile systems that blow things up from outer space. So we got to have this missile system that blow things up from outer space. This is the Truthdig article. Who would possibly build such a system? By sheer coincidence, 5 of they quote the CSIS, the Strategy Center for Strategic and International Studies. That's a Washington think tank. Oh, think tank. And they're proposing that we must build this bigger missile system, right? The CSIS. Okay. Well, here's something weird. 5 of CSIS's top 10 corporate funders, Lockheed Martin, Leonardo Finmeccanica, I can't pronounce that name, but they're assholes, Boeing, General Dynamics, and Northrop Grumman are positioned to do just that. And the New York Times reported in August 8th of 2016, the CSIS is a little more than a lobbying arm for the weapons industry. So we're going to talk to these experts. What do these experts say? Oh boy, we need a strategic missile system from outer space. Oh, who could build it? It's unbelievable.